Starship Locations Legacy Part 2. And I have decided to watch, after seeing the hilarious Angry Joe Show review, I'm going to watch Rebel Moon 2. Apparently it's so bad it's funny, so sure, why not? We'll see. Here I go. I will then review the show. I can't show you, of course, any clips from it because YouTube will flag it. Not going to show any clips. I'm just going to watch the movie and review it now. I lit it like a... wow. Yeah, okay. Probably repeating a lot of stuff from Rebel Moon Part 1. In Rebel Moon Part 2, this one mainly takes place on the Rebel Moon, and mainly has the Dreadnought returning. Somehow they revived the bad guy, the evil Nazi bad guy. Clearly, they're supposed to be Nazi. It's pretty obvious, and his German accent's all over the place. They revived him in a chrysalis, and they bring him back. He's doing the whole like he's on a cross in there. They revive him. He blames the medical staff. He's got a scar on him, and his marked cards pointed out in the review of the first one. Yeah, if she's called the Scar Giver, that's not as cool as it sounds. It means that she has the ability to give scars that are wounds that are healing. So it doesn't make sense. But the Festering Wound, that would be a better name for her. She has a boyfriend who it's unclear as to, at the end, I guess did he shave or something? Because I thought he had kind of a beard earlier. The characters are rather interchangeable in places. This story is dipping more into the Magnificent Seven Samurai thing than the other one was, but it's still kind of the same idea. It's the darker middle chapter. It's going after the sort of Star Wars-y effect. They've got to defend their village against the bad guys. Seven. And the bad guys return to the rather more simple plot than the first movie, but needlessly complex in places in determining the different characters and character developments and their motivations. Zack Snyder is not capable of doing proper character development in a movie. I've seen that with his Snyderverse DC movies. He makes everybody a badass. Roar! Gonna go out and destroy them all. And he doesn't understand how the Super Friends work. He doesn't understand how Superman and Batman work. He doesn't know how that works. He's like, those they can punch really hard. It's the guy that did 300 and Man of Steel and all that stuff. Batman v Superman and all that stuff, which really, which I won't bother going into because why? It's just adding too much fuel to already a messy thing. Anyway, the enemy ships are drawn well. Whoever drew them, put them out there and designed them. They're interesting looking. They seem to be a cross between space battleship Yamato type World War II ships turned into spaceships and sort of submarine things from like Nam and stuff. So they're sort of a cross between that and the other. They're Gamelon ships, but they're also later ones. The Dreadnoughts resemble more some of the Gamelon vessels from. And the Comet Empire a little bit. So he's clearly inspired by that. I'm sure they are not the same designers. I'm sure they're just copying it and using AI a little bit to do the texturing. You can kind of tell it's a little weird. But yeah, somebody clearly spent a lot of money doing the effects for this, even if they drew it in Final Cut Pro. It's still there are still parts of it that are good enough in terms of what's going on. A bloodless space battle, though. Bloodless ground battle as well. With two people get decapitation, including the bad guy. Bad guys should absolutely be dead at this point. Yeah, spoilers. A bad guy basically loses his head. I think they did. It's hard to tell, but no, they didn't have him. If they bring him back, they're gonna have to put him back together because he's in pieces. So, but yeah, is he a robot? And they tried to set up that she acts as the girl Korra. They stole that from Legend of Korra, of course. Spelled a little differently, but no, that's what they stole it from. She looks kind of like her. They stole that from that, and we have the stereotypes of each different of the 7 characters. We have their backstories narrated to us by some of them. That's not how you do it. Also, the early narration in the beginning of the movie, that's not how you do it. I wasn't as amused as Angry Joe was. I found parts of this tedious and boring, and also the parts about the weird. Oh, they decide to gather all the grain, which his idea of gathering grain and crops and stuff in a movie is to show it all like they're all badass. Like when they're gathering the grain, it somehow becomes and doing sharecropping and stuff. It kind of sounds a little racist, and they're doing a thing. And he wants to make it look like badass, like it's 300 again or something. And it's like doing something badass. They don't have vehicles or machines for that. They're on a planet that has technology. Why don't they have a shucking grain machine, combine, some kind? They should have a combine on the planet, and it goes through and does. That would make more sense. But apparently they don't have that on the moon. You have technology that's kind of both old looking like Star Warsy and new looking like otherwise. And yeah, at times you've got like the space gun's gonna aim at the village toward the end there, and it looks rusty, and the equipment they're using to aim the gun is like an old what's Mauserman's wheel, turn the turret around thing with a turret noise like it's from World War One, not 2, 1. And they're like ding 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 ding, because he thinks he's doing Saving Private Ryan for World War II, World War One stuff. What? Yeah, and it looks all rusty and old and corroded. There's also a battle tank, and there's a couple of battle tanks down there with like spider legs going along, kind of a Robotech looking thing. It's all dusty and rusty, and it's moving along. And you think all they have to do is shoot at the rusty parts, and it would just fall apart. Which the robot then does later. The robot gets in one of them. Does the old jump into the tank and shoot all the tank guys. They're taking the top off thing. Stolen directly out of a lot of movies. War movies and stuff. But most notably, I would say that scene is ripped off from most notably here from Ghost in the Shell. She goes inside the tank, stops it. It's Ghost in the Shell. But yes, so he's ripping off a bunch of stuff. He's got a bunch of things in there. Also, there was a similar scene in Akira. Anyway, so, I think Akira, yeah. So we have, it's a mess. It really is a mess. The plot is that they know the bad guys are coming, so the villagers decide to set up a trap for them and do the Rambo thing. And set up a trap, and you just know when they check the sensors, the bad guys, that they actually haven't hidden the women and children in the bunker. They've hidden them somewhere else, and that's where all the warriors are. Of course, that would be the coincidence that would it's like, well, it's kind of a bad idea, because they could just shoot that building and blow them up, which they almost do. So it would be an incredible coincidence that they know the bad guys are going to do something stupid, so they do it. I'm not sure why they would even do that. That makes no sense. Yeah. But Zack Snyder. I'm going to say Michael Bay. I meant Zack Snyder. He doesn't know how to do characters. He just does stereotypes of characters and archetypes of characters. He's even got Sir Anthony Hopkins in there playing a robot and a narrator. This is an example for you film school buffs out there of the show don't tell, where the show don't tell is being not followed. You have an opening scene, an opening crawl, a narration about something that's going on. But because the other characters aren't drawn into that in some way of showing it, you're watching ship porn up on the screen, and it's not interesting. When they did the text crawl in Star Wars, it was a text crawl. You had to read it, and then the ship showed up. No, nothing distracting you. You read the text. Yeah. But yeah, you show don't tell in that context. If you have to use narration to explain the stuff that's in the script, because there's obviously plot holes, you're not doing it right. Yeah. Your transitions aren't there. You've forgotten them. So you're like, oh, I need to explain why such and such is a hero because he just is. No, that's not how you do that. You show what he did or what they did. There is a scene where he does that when he shows what what Cora did as the commander lady on the king's ship. You can tell the king's going to get shot, and the queen's going to get shot, and the princess is going to get shot. But the princess is not going to die because she's got some kind of weird Jedi powers. Of course she does. It does beg the question: how could the king and queen be that stupid as to go on the ship with all these armies everywhere, knowing they're going to stop the army, and not know, like, you're obviously the army guys are going to take over at this point. It's the last ship. They're going to get taken out. The last ship, they said. And then they're not going to have an army anymore. So clearly the king is going to get shot right there. And they narrate this like 3 times. Tell you, the audience, because apparently it's not easy enough to follow, that's what's happening. And you don't need to do that. You just show it. Show what's going on. And they'll figure it out. And then there's these weird points in the story where there's like, the other guy pointed out, weird points of slow-mo. He likes the slow-mo stuff. Slow-mo in parts that don't need slow-mo at all, and some parts that do. Like you have them shucking and passing grain and putting the grain in the bales and stuff, and then setting up for the harvest and whatever. Don't slow-mo that. That does not need to be slow-moed. That needs to be a montage. That doesn't need to be 10 minutes of your movie. That needs to be a 2-minute montage. We're out there harvesting the grain for 2 minutes and then we're done. Yeah, that's way overdone. At times, though, the battle with the things firing it and going all over the place, space battle, he's trying to do Saving Private Ryan cross with Space Battleship Yamato. That's what he's trying to do. It's pretty obvious. But not understanding why Space Battleship Yamato, the live-action movie and the cartoon, made sense in their universe. They had a sort of synergy going back and forth. These guys are just laser porn going back and forth. There is where you slow it down. There is where you do there is where the slow-mo should happen. As opposed to, we need to slow down the part where she goes, I'm a badass with my sword. They're not lightsabers. My sword thing is going hand thing. Oh yeah, there's there's all these stereotypes in this movie. There's like blatant stereotypes of heroes in this movie. It's like not 7 samurai, it's 7 racially stereotyped samurai. We have 2 Asian people, an Asian lady who has chopped off her own hands after her village is destroyed. Why? And how did she get robot hands then? Doesn't explain. Just she has them. She found the robot hands and put them on as if they would make her hands more stronger, like big laser hands or whatever. No. And you're ripping off Warhammer a little bit there. And other things. There's some Ronin stuff about that too. I think 13 Ronin, did something like that. As well as some earlier movies have done that. I think there's a character like that in an anime from years ago, in the 80s. I can recall an anime where there was a lady that had the whole ninja garb thing, samurai thing, and she had like samurai sword hands, sort of. I think that is from something. He's just ripping it off. He's just ripping it off whole cloth from something. Probably samurai. It sounds like an old Bruce Lee samurai movie scene, and among other things. And so you have, or maybe the Hong Kong Killer movie or one of those. Yeah, they've done stuff like that. The samurai sword. You know, the ancient samurai and the ancient ninjas. The ancient samurai were supposed to be excellent archers. So if they had to, so it's a misnomer. And Americans, you know, we think like, oh, the samurai had, you know, they had to use their swords to defeat the bad guy. It's like, no, they had to be excellent archers. So you don't know they're coming because they shot you with an arrow and you're dead. If they had to whip out their sword, they're not very good at using the archery part. But they're still good at swordsman stuff, so if they had to, close quarters with a sword. But usually, they're supposed to shoot you with an arrow from a distance. Go, and you're gone, and they sneak up on you. Yeah, that's the way that's supposed to work. They to vanish quickly without trace, like Splinter said in Ninja Turtles. So yeah, it's the samurai would have archery, you know, arrows. Thump. Wouldn't see you coming. Yeah, he doesn't get that. He just watched a bunch of movies. There was an excellent Batman ninja movie from a couple of years ago that was fun. That's something like that. He's a ninja. He went to samurai Japan, time travel. It was fun. The Joker was like an evil ninja. That's funny. Yeah, it's a good cartoon. He didn't write that though. Zack Snyder does not understand character development. In addition to our ninja lady, we have a sort of Ronin dude, and we have a gigantic black stereotype dude named Titus. This is the big BV 300 guy, and his silly confession scene that they already mentioned. Angry Joe Rants mentioned. He was stuck on that one scene, but I thought it was I think the problem with it wasn't that they were doing the confession. I think the problem was that they didn't establish early on that because they were drinking in the meat hall, they were a little drunk. That would have made that make more sense. And then they just started like blubbering to each other. That would have made a little more sense if they got a little tipsy and they just kind of let it out. And that would have been a better scene if they were just kind of like, oh, my pal, yeah, this is great. I was a warrior, the combatant. See, that would have been better. It would have been like, okay, we're going to do Drunken Master references and stuff. That was Jackie Chan. Something like that. It works better that way. Or Irish, dukes. Put up your dukes stuff. Yeah, there's like Scottish Irish stuff in this. There's like he thinks he's making Game of Thrones. He thinks he's making and Game of Thrones and George R.R. Martin is based on the 100 Years' War. So he throws in elements of the 100 Years' War and Game of Thrones and the Middle Ages in with this farming culture on this planet that seems to be set in the Middle Ages. But they have spaceships and robots and stuff as well, just to throw that in there. Pre-Middle Ages, like Ireland and Scotland mixed in there. And we got this evil bad guy who has a German accent, sort of, when it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate. Sometimes it goes away. Like when he comes out of the thing and he's like, the medical team has ruined me, And later on he's fighting her and he's like, open your eyes. In just English. Just perfect English. Oh, whatever that part was. And then he gets they have attacked the dreadnought and the other ships. They shoot down the fighters, and then at the last minute we have sort of a ship flies into a rebel fleet flies in to help them, and it's like, why didn't they get there earlier? Like, what's the deal with they're earlier. What happened if they didn't shoot down the dreadnought? What happened if it was still there? Were they just waiting to see whether they knocked out the dreadnought first? And also the dreadnought crashing near the village would send enough radiation and debris to destroy the village anyways. But yeah, they didn't think about that. So Rebel Moon 2, the Scar Giver, the wound that's going to heal Giver, and her boyfriend at the end. I think he also thinks he's doing Dune parts 1 and 2 that have a similar lady in it, the Dune guy, but she's a stereotypical character herself as some sort of Latin American or something, proto-Egyptian character, Latin American probably. And she has a past, a dark past of whatever, and they're like, It just no, Saxon, no. She's like of course, an utter badass with weapons and stuff. But how badass can she be when she goes onto the ship and they do the Star Wars thing and they masquerade as troopers so they can get on the ship? Of course they do that. Star Wars and other shows. Star Wars wasn't the first one to do that. They were doing that in old war pictures too. So they weren't the first one to do that. Can't say that was entirely a Star Wars thing. That was in a bunch of other stuff way before that. And they go in there to infiltrate the base. But she takes off the armor so she can like show off her rather chiseled physique with all the lady who works out, she's a martial artist or something. But it's like yeah, but you should keep the armor on anyway, just in case anybody shoots at you with your laser guns. Keep the armor on. And then you wouldn't have half of the problems with the other stuff. The engine is silly on the ship. It looks like a head. It's got like the spore engine thing. The engine looks stupid. Oh, looks like a brain. Why is it a brain? That what? Yeah, why not just go into the engine room and shoot the reactor and then run back out? Yeah. Then we'll just go critical and blow up the ship. Yeah, oh yeah, and another weird thing is the ships have, more of a sci-fi like ship guy. The ships for some reason fire off what looks like the jets from an oven, like a standard oven, like shooting out like little flame jets, like an oven, not even a rocket, but like a gas oven or a blowtorch or something, like a blowtorch when it's fired up in space without an atmosphere. That wouldn't look like that. Why would it have exhaust? Why would the bad guy ships also be trailing smoke while they're flying? That would be a really bad design. Why are two of the bad guy ships trailing smoke? To be crop dusters or something? They're like flying in formation and some of them are spewing stuff out of the back of their ship because you know what it is he's seen World War II footage and Vietnam footage and stuff, and he's like, sometimes a plane has been shot and there's like stuff spewing out of the back of the plane, but they're leaving the bay on the mothership. They're not shot at yet. That's not a smoke screen. Why would they? If they've got a smoke screen, why would they need one before they even get there? So it's not a smoke screen. It's just that this looks cool. It's spewing out smog out the back of it, smoke and stuff. It's like no, that's a ship that's been damaged. Don't use that ship. And then later on, they use the smoke to try and look like they've been hit to go to get onto the ship. All of Star Wars. Yeah. They use another kind of smoke, but they don't make it the same color. They make it white smoke instead of the black smoke the other ships were spewing. So they would know immediately, wait a minute, that ship hasn't been shot at. That ship is actually... Yeah, so they screwed up their plan there. Should have been the black smoke like the other ships. So that, not the lighter smoke, gray smoke. It screwed that up. Also, if you have rockets on a ship, why would they have rockets? You'd have landing jets and rockets, I suppose, but they wouldn't be like gas rockets. You could have, your rockets and stuff. If you have rockets in space that are firing up and you have engines, it's just going to be like a white glow or a blue glow or whatever, maybe yellow, behind the ship. The glows are going to come behind the ship. You're not going to see a jet spewing out. It's not going to look like that. It's going to be like an amorphous, because it's not in the air. It's in space. It's going to look like a hot, super hot, like shape, like also, the Slain King idea is dumb. Not to mention what they're doing on the planet is also dumb. Why would they go after this one person on the planet that they know is the bad guy? Why would they do that? Why would he even go back there? It makes no sense. They'll probably put him back together. But yeah, the if the king is slain and at the end they say, they're following the rebels are following the slain king's orders, wouldn't it make sense for them to follow the princess's orders who's been saved? clearly not actually dead. She's an alien or something. Yeah, wouldn't she be the queen then? It'd be Princess be the queen. Yeah, because they're gonna want to rip off Star Wars some more, but in reverse. I mean, it's not exactly totally Star Wars. It's Magnificent Seven, which is kind of the sequels. It's kind of The Force Awakens more than the other ones. It's The Force Awakens redo. But it's yeah, and it's a little bit of the Palpatine one. Yeah, oh yeah. Ooh, as for the Star Wars theory, the prevailing theory of Palpatine and Skywalker is that Skywalker is also a Palpatine. Because clearly Palpatine has totally a vested interest in Anakin Skywalker from the get-go. And as if he's his dad. As if he is the one that actually knocked up Simi Skywalker. And yeah, he's actually the great-grandfather of Luke and Leia. That actually makes sense. It's like, okay, the midichlorians didn't do it. Palpatine did it. That's obviously. I mean, like, that's a theory anyway. So yeah, he did it, and yeah, that's why he's interested in Anakin, because Anakin is essentially his son, Palpatine's son. So yeah, he's a Skywalker. He's also a Palpatine. Now Rey should have been Kenobi, but they changed it because now, and that makes it worse because now she's a Palpatine. Then and Ben Solo is a grandson of a Palpatine, and she's a granddaughter of another Palpatine. They're cousins. Ew. First cousins. Oh my. But yes. But anyway, the story is like, oh, okay, we have the girl and the boyfriend on the ship. Assume that now that they destroyed the mothership, they don't have the ability to bring back the other characters in a chrysalis if they died. Well, conceivably they could. They could just repair the dead boyfriend, couldn't they? Because they repaired the king guy, or the general. I guess he's a general, sort of a Hux ripoff. Yeah, this show, God, this movie's a mess. It's just a mess. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen though. It's bad. Don't get me wrong. It's bad. It's bad. It's not as much fun as Angry Joe and his friends were letting on. Maybe because it's 420 today. Maybe they had a little bit of the doobage beforehand, and they just thought it was funny because, it's National Pot Day. I didn't have any doobage. I had to watch this thing completely. No, I don't. But doesn't have it. Yeah. So there's Rebel Moon Part 2, and the only reason I'm doing it is because they had so much fun reviewing it. I thought it would be fun, but it really wasn't particularly. Whoever's doing the animation, though, and all the laser blasts and stuff, it's a shame that we can't get them to do some of our fan films. Because then they'd be better, and then they'd have at least my stuff has better scripts. I don't think. I was going to say Michael Bay again. I don't think Zack Snyder understands. Michael Bay understands script writing a little bit. He can do some dialogue and character and script. He just doesn't do them right. Zack Snyder doesn't really know how to do that. He just wants to have a character big and muscly and powerful beating up another character that's big and muscly and powerful. That's what he wants to do. Well, that's not a story though. That's wrestling. That's a bunch of them kicking ass for like 2 hours. Yeah. And then there's Neil Breen, who thinks he's making a remake of Sucker Punch with his, and he's not, with his latest thing over there. Yeah, where he's acting against himself and against type with his audience with bad acting. The acting's about as good in this one as it is in the latest Neil Breen movie. At one point, one of them literally forgets their line about. There's one thing saying this line about that's supposed to be dramatic. She literally forgot her line. It's like, and she just said the end of the line, like I love you, or this. Yes, I'm the rebel. It's like, could she do another take? That'd be good. She should do another take, because that was not the best take on that line. Maybe it was the best take they had. Oh, yeah. Um, Also, slinking through a slow-mo shot of your leg and your butt as you slide down toward the thing yet again. Shooting a laser gun. You might think that looks cool, defying gravity like that, but actually, if you sped that up, it looks really stupid. But yes, it doesn't do anything. It's so that Zack Snyder can like freeze frame on her tush as she flies by, or his tush. He's an equal opportunity guy. He's had a couple scenes where it's a dude doing the same thing. Or do the electric slide, or do the electric land, or do the hero landing. Yeah, don't let him anywhere near any more DC stuff. DC guys, current guys, don't. Just don't. The Snyderverse is done. And no, we do not want to see the longer version of Rebel Moon 2 either. Although I did review his Snyderverse version of Justice League, and although it was a little better than the Joss Whedon one, it was still a slog for 4 hours. It was kind of long. Yeah. So I'm not terribly a Zack Snyder fan. I think his best works are his infamous works, 300 and Watchmen. And with Watchmen, it was kind of like shooting fish in a barrel, because he writes his characters like they were in Watchmen, but he doesn't realize, in that case, that they were being sarcastic. He doesn't get that. They were they're spoofing DC and Marvel superheroes, mainly DC superheroes in that. He didn't get that they weren't angsty and badass because they were angsty and badass and dark. No, it's because they were being sarcastic. Yeah, you're not supposed to root for Rorschach and Dr. Manhattan at all. The joke is that they're just kind of dicks. Al done much better in the Suicide Squad comics, which became some movies. First Suicide Squad movie, I think it was somebody else, was not that good. It was one of those, the dark last 30 minutes with the bad guy fighting thing. They were all into that summer. There were 2 summers there where every superhero movie had to end with a dark ending. Wonder Woman 1, Wonder Woman 84, 2 years later, that one, the original Suicide Squad. Then they did a remake, the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad made it all lighter, darker. That was the other guy. Yeah, he improved it. He made it like a remake, basically. Well, why am I blanking on that guy? James Gunn. Different guy. He's now running the show at DC, so. James Gunn. So we have, that was the dark story things. The ending of Batman v Superman, the ending of a bunch of other ones around that same time. But they're all it ended with a dark ending, and you literally can't see the bad guy she's fighting because it doesn't look good. That they kind of did that here too a little bit. The spaceship ending, you kind of couldn't tell who was shooting at who in the dust. Oh, they killed off the samurai lady with the blades, and for some reason she has a connection to the little boy because they were in that confession scene, and he helped her. They saved each other, and now there's a connection or something, and then she dies, and it's like, no, there isn't, Zach. That makes no sense. No, it just doesn't, because where are you getting the? They tried to throw force in the story, the character moments, without earning them. Yeah, character moments without earning them. Why was she acting like? There was no other scene in there where she confessed that she liked children or something. They needed something like that in there, or that she said, she had children and they died and they reminded her or something like that. Just that vague reference of, everyone in my village is dead, but she didn't say children. She said everyone in the village is dead. She cut off her own arm. Why? Why did she do that? The stereotypical Scotch-Irish guys too. village itself, because he didn't want to use some other migrant group, so he used the Scotch and the Irish. Okay, but still doesn't make any sense. They could be Italians, I don't know. But what is the motivation for the bad guys in this? Their fleet, clearly they're supposed to be the evil empire, just ripping out Star Wars. But their motivation is stupid. They have spaceships. They can go anywhere they want to. They wouldn't need grain from some random moon unless they're just harassing them for no reason. Because Zack Snyder thinks, ooh, they can become badasses now. But it's like, no. Why would the evil empire need that? They could probably find a whole planet of slave labor. They can organize out there and have them get their grain for them. Or a whole planet of, droids or something. Yeah, they don't need it. They can go anywhere. So I guess they're just attacking the planet because they're dicks. Okay, Zach. Oh, no. And they're space fascists or something. Yeah. What is his motivation at that point except to go back there and harass them some more so they can kick his ass? Like, yeah. I bet that guy was a lot of fun on the playground when he was younger. God. Badass. And they were, I bet when he was, I wonder what he was like when he was in high school. In the film department somewhere. Like, I got this story where I'm a badass and I kick everyone's ass. There's a space war. And they're like, okay, settle down, Zach, settle down. That's not going to happen. Someday I will be a glorious film director. Even Steven Spielberg had trouble with that when he was making his movies. He said, "Oh, they were after me because of my religion or something, or a race or whatever." And it wasn't it. Some of Steven Spielberg's classmates came out and said, "No, that wasn't it. We were picked up because he was a nerd, film dork." Okay, that's why they did. He's a film dork. Yeah, but he went to become the most successful director ever. Zack Snyder is not Steven Spielberg. Zack Snyder is trying to be Steven Spielberg. All of George Lucas, and no. I think the ending scene he was trying to do Red Tails. Ooh, yeah, no. Even Lucas admits, yeah, Red Tails is probably a mistake. But it's poetry; it rhymes. Oh yeah, Zack's Rebel Moon, the Scar Giver. It sounds like it's a notice for a Medicaid title. Not very good. How about the Battle for Rix or something? The planet. How about Return of Korra? Just instead of Return of the Jedi. Yeah, something like that. It would have been a better title. The Scar is stupid. You just thought that's really badass. Aww. It's not even a scar, technically. It's a hole. It's been plated over. It's not even a scar. So the story is wrong because it's not a scar.